Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Stitch Sessions. In this week's tutorial, we're going to show you how to make this super sweet 5-petal pinwheel flower. And it's a beautiful project that you can use to add on to other projects like hats and scarves, maybe baskets or blankets, or all kinds of things. And it's a lot easier than you may think it is. I know it looks a little extra complicated, but it's actually much easier than you think, and it's so fun to make. So I hope you'll enjoy making this along with me this week. And you can always follow me on Instagram at the Stitch Sessions, and I'd love to see some of how your flowers turned out. So please feel free to share them with me on Instagram and tag me. And don't forget to click that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed, so you'll never miss another episode. We upload every Wednesday. In the meantime, let's get started on our pinwheel flower. Okay, everyone, so in order to make this really pretty pinwheel flower, we are going to need any type of yarn that you would like. You can use a thicker yarn by all means. This one is a medium, actually not a medium, it's considered a fine weight 3. I believe this is the Fair Play yarn by Premier. And but for this tutorial, I'm going to use this crochet thread, and it is definitely a fine. It would probably be considered a fine weight number 1. I have a hard time reading this really thin label here. So I'm using this, and I'll be using my 3.75 millimeter hook, also known as an F or a size 5. Now, many people would probably recommend a much smaller hook than this, but I find that it's tougher on my hands if I go much smaller than this, and my eyes. So I tend to use this hook a lot for some finer work. You'll also need possibly a darning needle if you are adding this as an applique to other projects, or to sew in the center end if you wish. But I almost think you can get away with this project without a darning needle, but it's always good to have on hand, as well, of course, as a pair of scissors. So let's get started on our pinwheel flower. And we are going to start with a magic ring, also known as a cinch circle, a magic circle, whatever you choose to call it. So we start with our loop. I'm going to pull a loop through. Now this initial stage can be very trying because there's not much substance to hold on to. So I'm just going to secure my loop here. Okay, so I've got my tail here, which I want to make sure stays out, and I've got my loop. Now I'm going to chain 1, which helps me secure my work. And then I'm going to go back into the circle, and I'm going to do 1 single crochet stitch. And again, it's going to be very wonky, so just take your time. So there we go, we've got a single crochet. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 8. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Then I will do a double crochet back, we'll do a single crochet back into the cinch circle. Okay, so what that does is it creates a loop, a chain loop there, okay? Then you will single crochet again into the cinch circle. It's really testy here because it's not quite established yet. Okay, and then we will do that again. 8 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Then we'll go back into the cinch circle and single crochet to secure that chain down. Okay, it can be really testy, but it'll be worth it, I promise you. So there we've got the basic structure for our first 2 petals. So we are going to repeat this another 3 times because we need to have 5 petals, okay? So then I would single crochet back into that cinch circle again, chain 8, and then single crochet to secure that into the circle again. I know it can be. Now you can definitely do this with a heavier weight yarn by all means, but for what I'm using this for, I wanted the flower to be a little bit more delicate. So there you go. So do that 2 more times and then I'll meet you at the end. Okay, and once you have your 5 petals, you will have something that looks like this. And so now what we want to do is we want to take our short tail, be careful not to lose your loop here, and we are going to cinch it tight together. Okay, so that should make your petals come together a little bit more. And what we want to do here is now, once you place your hook back in the center here, into your loop, we're going to slip stitch into this first spacing here. Okay, so that's going to get us inside our first petal. What we want to do now is we want to chain 3, and this is going to give us the height of a double crochet stitch because that's what we're going to be working to create our petals. So now what we want to do is we want to double crochet 8 times into this space. So we'll yarn over as usual, insert into the space, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through the next 2. Okay, so we'll do that again. Here is a second double crochet. One thing I forgot to preface is that chain 3 will count as one of your double crochets. So 1 plus another 7 will give you 8 double crochets altogether, and you should have something that looks like this. And don't be afraid to kind of push them down a bit because we want to fit more in here. We're now going to chain 2 to create the little peak of our flower, and then double crochet another 7 times into that space. Okay, so we'll just continue on doing the double crochets. We need 7 more into the space, and that's what's going to create our petal. Once you've done 7, you want to chain 3, and then we're going to slip stitch back into this spacing. Now, right now, I'm realizing, and this is why experimenting is good, because this is a much finer yarn than this flower. See, this one has 8, chain 2, and 8, and it snuggles quite nicely. This one, probably, we could have done 10 on each side, okay, just because it's even much finer than the other one. I'm going to leave this at 8, though, because it's really neat to see the different effects depending on how much you increase or decrease the number of stitches you use, okay? So we're going to stick to the 8 and 8. So we've chained 3. Remember, we chained 3 because that counts as a double crochet, so we technically still have 8. We've slip stitched into that space to secure that petal down. And now what we're going to do is we're going to just move over to the next petal right there, and we're going to slip stitch into that one. And it can be a little wonky here. Okay, so what I've done is I've slip stitched to secure my first petal into its space, and then you can see I've kind of skipped over there and I've slip stitched into the next spacing, into the next petal. So that's what you're going to do for your petals. You will always begin, you will always begin and end with a chain 3. So we begin with a chain 3, 2, 3, after you've slip stitched into your space, and then we do 7 more, or you can do 9 more, depending on how snug you'd like your petal to look. Double crochets into that space. You will chain 2 and then do 7 again, or 9, and chain 3 and slip stitch into the petals. I'm doing this again with you guys one more time. So I'm up to 4. Remember that chain 3 counts as 1. And 5. See, and I just push it down as I need. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I need 1 more, which is 8. Okay, so I've got my 8, and now I'm going to chain 2, 1 and 2, and then I'm going to do another 7 double crochets into that same space. Now, those of you that are naturally tight crocheters, this would be a good project for you, because the tighter you can get these stitches, the nicer it can look. So this is where tight crocheting really comes in handy, is for projects like this. Okay, so you do another 7, and then you chain 3 at the end. Okay, so I finished my 7th, and now I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to slip stitch into that same space. So you can see in this particular example, I could have done more double crochets. And then I would just go over to my next chain loop here, insert and slip stitch to get into that next petal. Okay. So that is how you create the petals. And see how it's buckling? We want that to happen, because that's what creates this little pinwheel effect. The fact that the stitches are so crowded that they naturally will fall that way. Okay, so I hope that these first 2 have made sense. Go ahead and finish the other 3 petals, and I'll meet you at the end. Okay guys, so I've just slip stitched into my last petal here. So that's how it's coming out. I'm just going to snip off so we can see it a little bit clearly. And basically I only have a wee bit left. So these little crochet threads, I've seen these at Michael's and the craft stores. I got these particular ones at Walmart. And so it's just enough to do one of these flowers. Even if I had done probably 10 crochets in each petal, it would have just given me enough to do one of these flowers. So I'm just going to snip my yarn, and I've slip stitched into the last petal, and now what I want to do is inside that loop, I just want to pull that through. Oops. Make sure I'm not catching my petal here. I'm just going to cinch that tight. And this may be where you could use your darning needle. In fact, you probably want a thinner one, because what I would do is I would go right down the center here. Oh, maybe I can. And I would just feed this through, which is exactly what I'm going to do right now. And I'm going to feed this through to the back. Just like that. There we go. And then, just to really secure it, is I would tie my short tail from cinching my circle, just to give it a little bit of a secure center. And you can leave, depending on what you're going to do, if you're going to tie this to something, you might want to leave, like I left a bit of a longer tail, or if you're going to add it as an embellishment on something. So there you go, guys. So see how the petals start to kind of overlap each other? That's exactly the effect that we want. So I tried to arrange it so that one is always kind of on top of the other in a, there we go. So in all going in the same direction. And that's what gives what I like to, that's what gives it that pinwheel effect. I really like how this one came out in the thinner, in the crochet thread. Really, really pretty. And if you add it next to this guy here, it just adds for great texture. Really nice, guys. I'm actually really excited. I'm going to use more of these crochet threads for these type of projects. It's great for adding embellishment. This one is really pretty too because it just gives it a little bit more fluff. So that's it. That's basically the secret. Now, if you don't want to use the cinch circle like I did, you can certainly do the chain 5 or chain 4 method, where you chain 4 and then slip stitch to create a ring and work into that ring. All right. But the petals are really easy. In this example, I did the 8 crochet stitches, chain 2 and 8. I probably next time, because this is a thinner thread, I would probably do 10. So I would chain 3, double crochet 9, chain 2, double crochet 9, and chain 3 to slip stitch back into the petal. So that would give me 10 double crochets on each side of the petal. But I'm really happy, actually. I like the little gaps there. I think it just creates a different kind of texture for these flowers. So I hope you've enjoyed this cute and quick little project, guys. And I'd love to see how some of your flowers worked out. So make sure to tag me on Instagram at The Stitch Sessions. And I love to see everybody's work as it comes along. And if you have any questions, you know, you can always leave me a comment in the comment box down below. Or you can certainly email me directly at info@crochetcrafty.com. And if you haven't already, make sure to click that subscribe button so you'll always stay up to date every time we upload a new tutorial. We upload every Wednesday, and we also throw up some of our stitch session conversations in the mix too. We like, I certainly like how crochet and crafting can really create and instigate great conversations among my friends, my artist friends, all kinds of people. In any case, guys, have a wonderful and amazing day. Happy crocheting and take care.